Let me present you tonight our speakers. Our guest of honor today is Major Feldman. He will tell you tonight his story. He's also part of the conspiracy of the politics. He was an American pilot who was shot down by the German troops in 1943, and he's the president of the group of 500 American pilots in this country who never had the chance to say the truth. 500 American pilots were in Serbia with the Serbian people, rescued by General Draža Mihailović, general of the Serbian Royal Forces. He's together with us. He will tell us his story and his experience in that respect. I want to say thanks to the Channel 13 who give us such a rare opportunity, and we are very appreciative with them. Our second speaker is Mr. Ronald Hatchett, who is a professor, PhD at Texas University in Houston. He was a security advisor to President Reagan. He was a member of Reagan administration, big expert on Balkan, and the person who even studied in Yugoslavia. He really knows the whole factuality of the war, all factuality of the history. And I want to say that we are very, very happy tonight that we have Professor Hatchett with us. We have a person tonight. I'll say if old-fashioned journalism will be again one day in this country, except this so-called corporate journalism, when nice people, I'm not afraid of, I'm not one of fan journalists, but fortunately they have not too much to say. They have a corporation, and the boss, if boss said yes, everything will be taken care of. This is a great story. We had also tonight Mr. Dr. Srđan Trifković, who is a scholar, former scholar of and the executive director of Lord Byron Foundation. We are all tonight here because of our Lord Byron Foundation. We would like to, and Mr. Trifković's desire is to organize this kind of meeting and to meet American friends all over the United States, because we served always ally of America in all world wars. We was always with Americans when in most difficult situation in the war. My grandfather was also a colonel of the Serbian Army, of Serbian Royal Army, and he also gave his participation in World War II. And Mr. Trifković and I would like you, Mr. Kind, to, if there's any possibility, we have some donation fund for Lord Byron Foundation, and if you'd be so kind to give any of your participation in that. And I have to introduce you also the man, Lou Upton, who is from KLV radio station. This station is running at 12:30 a.m. Lou Upton was the only man who gave us the opportunity, very rare opportunity, in 7 or 8 occasions, 2 hours, to say our point of view. Such a country of democracy, United States. I came from the communist world, and I ran after this communist regime and dictatorship, and I was myself prosecuted in this country, even recent time. I thought America is my country of dream. But unfortunately, I found here situation, maybe there will be change in the near future, that the media is not presented the factuality of the war, and our game today is to present you that factuality, to tell you our point of view, to tell you other events that happened in Yugoslavia, and we have this opportunity. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a special honor to present you gentlemen who will be running for the President of the United States, distinguished gentleman, former FBI director in 5 states of the United States, and Mr. Ted Gunderson.
Thank you very much. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity of appearing here today, this evening. Mr. Jovanovic, it's a real pleasure. I remember to this day when you called me on the phone and started just raising hell about what was going on over in the Balkans. And to be honest with you, I was quite an ignorant individual. I didn't know exactly what you were talking about. I was one of those people that the professors saying you don't know until you send the American troops over just exactly what is going on. But it's a real pleasure to be here tonight. I hate to bend over like this. Real pleasure to be here tonight and speak at this distinguished table with all these distinguished gentlemen and American heroes. My brother was shot down on the 24 over Germany in August 1944, and your comments, Major Feldman, mean a lot to me, and I'd like to personally contribute to your campaign to erect this monument for the general. And Professor Hatchett, I certainly enjoyed your comments. Thank you. And for Dr. Stepanovich, thank you very much, sir. And for Mr. Elik, thank you, sir, for your comments. After I defeated Bill Clinton in the primaries and had gone on to the general election and defeated Bob Blow or whatever New World Order person they put up, then I would do everything I can, everything possible within my power to ensure that this monument for General Mihailovich is erected in Washington, D.C. in a prominent place.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the joint staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years. Starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." The truth is about the Middle East is, had there been no oil there, it would be like Africa. Nobody is threatening to intervene in Africa. The problem is the opposite. We keep asking for people to intervene and stop it. And there's no question that the presence of petroleum throughout the region has sparked great power involvement. Whether that was the specific motivation for the coup or not, I can't tell you, but there's always been this attitude that somehow we could intervene and use force in the region.
World War III. And World War III is between the British Empire, better known as the Anglo-Dutch liberal banking financial system on the one side, and the principal nations of Eurasia, Russia, China, India, and other nations are the targets of intended warfare by the British Empire, which is already turning Europe into a mere colony of the British Empire through the program of the Lisbon Treaty. If the Lisbon Treaty were adopted, and is being pushed for adoption now, there would not be a single nation on the continent of Europe, west of Belarus and Russia, which had any sovereignty whatsoever. The British Empire would control the entirety of that region of Europe, from Portugal to the borders of Belarus and Russia, as a puppet of the Anglo-Dutch liberal financial interests. It is those interests represented in the United States for a long time have taken over control of the US dollar, control of the United States. Now they're moving in for the kill. The same cartel that put Mussolini into power in Italy, the same cartel that put Hitler into power in Germany. And we're now at the brink of something like a Hitler power taking over the United States. If they grab the United States, then they will grab all of Europe out of the Lisbon Treaty. If they control the United States and the parts of Europe under the Lisbon Treaty, then you will have an actual fighting war emerging on this planet. You will have dictatorship. You will have mass starvation. The elimination of whole sections of the population of parts of the world through starvation. And that's part of the British program. It's the food war. That's the situation. We're not dealing with an election. We're dealing with whether there is in the United States, in the top layers of society, the moral fitness to survive. And so far the vote is in the leadership of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Neither is morally fit to survive. They're as unmorally fit to survive as the people who backed Mussolini and backed Hitler back in the 1920s and the 1930s. And if we allow this to happen, we will get the same kind of treatment that the victims of Mussolini, Hitler, and so forth suffered. That's where we stand. We have to win this war against that evil empire.
Congressman Paul, I believe you are the only man on the stage who opposes the war in Iraq, who would bring the troops home as quickly as almost immediately, sir. Are you out of step with your party? Is your party out of step with the rest of the world? If either of those is the case, why are you seeking its nomination?
Well, I think the party has lost its way because the conservative wing of the Republican Party always advocated a non-interventionist foreign policy. Senator Robert Taft didn't want to be in NATO. George Bush won the election in year 2000 campaigning on a humble foreign policy, no nation building, no policing of the world. Republicans were elected to end the Korean War. The Republicans were elected to end the Vietnam War. There's a strong tradition of being anti-war in the Republican Party. It is the constitutional position. It is the advice of the founders to follow a non-interventionist foreign policy. Stay out of entangling alliances. Be friends with countries. Negotiate and talk with them and trade with them. Just think of the tremendous improvement relationships with Vietnam. We lost 60,000 men. We came home in defeat. Now we go over there and invest in Vietnam. So there's a lot of merit to the advice of the founders and following the Constitution. And my argument is that we shouldn't go to war so carelessly. When we do, the wars don't end.
Congressman,